he carries a hint of the extraordinary. Perhaps this white flame has already given us a glimpse into a realm that ordinary people can never reach, even if they spend their entire lives trying. That is the realm of the gods. Having completed everything in one go, Bai Yin remained calm and composed, barely even out of breath. It's easy to imagine what would happen if he were to unleash such power in the bustling city center of Eagle Peak. Without a doubt, the once bustling Eagle Peak city will freeze in a very short time, just like this quagmire, turning its more than 1 million residents into lifeless ice sculptures. That was an absolutely nightmarish scene. Such a scenario is actually possible if the man wanted to. This is White Flame. Without a doubt, he has reached the 7th level of strength, and may even be one of the best among those with the 7th level of strength. Even within the powerful Zalindria Empire, which is the strongest nation on the entire continent, this level of combat strength would not exceed a dozen. Destroying a city or annihilating an army is no problem at all. Whoever possesses such power, most of the rules of this world will no longer apply to him, because he can make his own rules. After finishing building with the blocks, Bai Yin returned to the shore. The others stood there, unsure whether to approach him or flee in panic. Perseus took the lead and walked over first, followed by the others. Bai Yin didn't care at all how strange the people were looking at him. He was focused on examining the gigantic, chilling mountain of flesh in front of him. Whether this worm-like monster is dead or not is unknown, but even if it is, it can no longer cause trouble. Upon approaching it, everyone was once again overwhelmed by its imposing presence. Even when it remained motionless, its colossal, whale-like size was enough to send shivers down one's spine. They easily subdued its white flames. They're practically inhuman. Faced with absolute power, Perseus dared not resort to any tricks, obediently standing aside and watching Bai Yin, but his gaze couldn't help but drift towards the lower half of Bai Yin's body. His sexual orientation is not problematic, which is why he is so eager to confirm one thing. Is Bai Yin male or female? Although he has an Adam's apple, using it to identify gender is not always reliable. Many women also have Adam's apples, while many men do not. Bai Yin is an absolute mystery. Many people are paying attention to him and want to find out his background. Among them are some powerful figures with extraordinary abilities, but they have all failed and left this guy as an enigma. Perseus was also eager to know who this person was and what his background was. But figuring these things out is difficult. He was well aware of this. However, compared to that, figuring out whether this person is male or female should be relatively easy, right? It's so simple that you can settle things by just peeing together or soaking in a hot spring together. The reason why Perseus was so eager to find out this was, he actually had feelings for this person. It's all because this guy has a face that looks exactly like Ivais's. If it's a woman, that's fine, but if it's a man, he actually has feelings for a man. Wouldn't that ruin his lifelong reputation? Absolutely not. To rid himself of this demonic thought, he was willing to risk his life to see for himself what Bai Yin's body was actually made of. Just then, Bai Yin looked over, and Perseus quickly adjusted his gaze to avoid being mistaken for a pervert. This is your responsibility to handle. Anything you find is yours. After Bai Yin finished speaking calmly, he walked away into the distance, but he did not leave. Instead, he stood there watching this side. The rule among adventurers is that whoever puts in the most effort gets the most reward. This monster was dealt with entirely by Bai Yin alone, so it rightfully belongs to him. But he simply handed over ownership of the monster. Such generosity is nothing short of saintly among adventurers who are meticulous about every penny and thrifty. The Bloodfang adventurers couldn't resist such a windfall. If someone else had done this, they would have worried about whether the other party had ulterior motives. But since it was Bai Yin who was giving the gift, they were even more amazed that they couldn't even have the slightest suspicion. "Chris, are you coming?" Mario said. "I've said it before, we only want adventure points. Everything else is yours." Perseus also led his men to retreat to the side of the white flames. The remaining 5 members of the Bloodfang adventurers looked at each other, and then Ken stepped forward, holding his giant axe. He was about to begin dismembering the monster's body. "Step back," Ken said in a low voice. Without him saying anything, Mario and the others had already retreated. "Be careful. The monster's bodily fluids might be poisonous," Alice reminded her. Ken simply nodded. After everyone had retreated to a safe distance, he raised his giant axe high, roared, and cleaved the demon with overwhelming force, causing sparks to fly everywhere. Then, nothing happened. Ken fell silent and slowly looked at Bai Yin. Perseus understood. The monster was completely frozen solid by the white flames, resembling a giant lump of frozen meat. Even Kin's full-force attack couldn't break through the layer of ice on the surface of this lump of frozen meat. "Lord White Flame, please thaw the monster," Perseus said. Bai Yin nodded, and without chanting any incantations, the previously motionless worm began to move. Clearly, a monster that could move was not something that could be easily dealt with. Bai Yin knew this, so as soon as the worm moved its body, it was torn to pieces and turned into a pile of neatly cut chunks of flesh. The body of a normal worm is filled with hemolymph, and it bursts with juice when stepped on. However, this giant worm was a monster. After its body was cut open, all that could be seen was muscle, with each fine line clearly visible. It probably really tasted like chicken. However, Perseus would absolutely not try it. The worm is almost entirely flesh with no special parts, but it has a ring of densely packed sharp teeth on its mouth parts, which should fetch a good price. Each tooth is as long as an adult's forearm, and is so hard that it can be directly polished into a short sword. Alternatively, grinding it into powder and adding it to the metal used for forging weapons or armor can often produce unexpected results. Of course, the most valuable thing about a monster is its core. This core is its life essence containing immense power. Depending on a monster, the core's function will vary drastically. Some of them can be used as materials for crafting weapons and can be used to forge divine weapons. Some are powerful magical artifacts in themselves, capable of greatly enhancing certain abilities of the user. Some can be swallowed whole. Although the Adventurers Guild has always discouraged adventurers from consuming monster cores, there will always be people who crave power and take chances. Most people who consume the core of a monster will die suddenly. However, a small number of them made rapid progress in their strength, thus leaping over the Dragon Gate and becoming powerful figures admired and revered by the world. Their deeds will then encourage more people to take risks, causing this matter to never end. The core of the monster is extremely hard and cannot be destroyed by human power. Moreover, they are generally not very large, otherwise no one would think of swallowing them, which are indivisible. The white flames continued to slice through the chunks of meat, making them increasingly finer until the core hidden within was nowhere to be seen. The whale-like worm, its core no bigger than an adult man's thumb, floated in midair, its pale blue color emanating a filthy and eerie aura. Bai Yin walked over and grabbed the core. However, he only glanced at it before tossing the valuable core aside to Ken. Ken took it dumbfounded. The white flame walked toward Perseus, but only passed by him. No. In the instant they passed each other, Perseus heard White Flame speak in a barely audible voice. The man had always remained calm, but this time, he could sense the other person's confusion and disappointment. The seemingly indifferent Bai Yin appears to be searching for something, but this time they couldn't find it again. Perseus's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly gave chase. "Lord White Flame, what are you looking for? May I lend you a hand?" Perseus said with a smile. Bai Yin stopped and looked at him silently. Perseus also took the opportunity to examine every detail of the other person's face up close. After looking at it for a while, I became more and more alarmed. This face is as if it were copied from Ivice's face, with every tiny detail matching perfectly. Even twins could not achieve such a level of perfection. "Your eyes look so strange," Bai Yin said. "No way," Perseus replied nonchalantly. "It's the same as always." Perseus was startled. "Lord White Flame, what did you just say? Did I just say something?" Bai Yin asked, her eyes filled with confusion. He clearly said it. He's still denying it. Perseus had never seen anyone so shameless, acting as if it were the real deal. "You just said, the same as always. What exactly do you mean?" Perseus asked. A strange feeling suddenly arose in his heart, and he was eager to find out why this person had suddenly blurted out such a sentence out of the blue. "You must have misheard," Bai Yin said expressionlessly. "But you can't help me with what I'm looking for." Bai Yin ignored him, walked to the white horse, mounted it, and headed back towards Eagle Peak City. Perseus did not chase after them again. The strange feeling in his heart grew stronger and stronger, and he could not shake it off. Ivica walked over and watched with him as Bai Yin's figure gradually disappeared into the distance. "You don't actually like him, do you?" Ivica suddenly asked. "Me? I like him?" Perseus, oblivious to his wild thoughts, his face contorted in pain, exclaimed, "I don't even know if he's a man or a woman. How could I possibly like him? If he were a woman, would you like him?" Ivica asked coldly. Well, I admit he gave me a very strange feeling, but that's all because you two look so alike. You fool my brain, Perseus sighed. Alas, what can I do when I love you so much? You're not allowed to like him, Ivisa said. Perseus was baffled. Ivisa always acted indifferent to his seeing other women. Not only did she not stop him, but she would also add a lot of explanations as if she was afraid he would misunderstand that she cared. This time, she wasn't afraid of him misunderstanding. Why? Perseus laughed. For no reason other than I hate him. After Ivisa finished speaking, she walked towards Winnie and the others. Chapter 147 Reunion with Paidler. Perseus followed Ivisa back to the edge of the mud pit. Mario and his companions were already enthusiastically collecting their spoils. Because of Bai Yan's exceptional performance, this step was completed quite easily. The group chatted and laughed as they removed the teeth from the worm's mouth parts one by one. Only Alice watched with lingering fear and disgust, refusing to budge an inch no matter how Aesop called her. Seeing Perseus return, Mario held up a sharp, thin tooth and waved it at him. Really not going to have a few? Perseus shook his head. Then you'll regret it later. Monster items usually fetch a good price, so we won't have to worry about our drinking money for the next few months. You can accept them without worry. Just don't forget the points later. No. Aesop chuckled. Anyway, adventure points are useless to us now. As you just saw, no matter how hard we try, we can't possibly compare to Lord Whiteflame. We're already pretty good at our current ranking. What's the point of competing with him for first or second place? You're spineless, Ken said in a deep voice. When we see someone strong, we should strive to get closer to them, instead of giving up on ourselves and just getting by. That makes a lot of sense. Are we still going drinking tonight? Go, Ken said without hesitation. There were over 100 teeth, which were tied into 4 large bundles with rope. Astrid carried 2 of the bundles by herself. I don't know what to do with the rest of the meat. Monster meat is generally inedible. Sigh, I'll just leave it here, and the association's inspectors will handle it later. Mario kicked a piece of minced meat and sighed regretfully. Let's go back to the city and then take on the next commission, Perseus said. Huh? After working so hard to complete such a difficult task, shouldn't you take a few days to rest and recharge before doing anything else? Perseus smiled. What exactly did you guys do that was hard? From killing the monsters to dismembering them, Bai Yan did it all by himself. Was it hard to just pick up the pieces? Even Mario, who was the most thick-skinned, fell silent for a moment in embarrassment. I see. Then let's take another one tomorrow. Otherwise, if word gets out, we'll be too ashamed to show our faces in Eagle Peak City. After all, we're the 9th-ranked adventure group. Right. Someone else snatched up a perfectly good commission. We should act all angry and resentful, then immediately take on a big commission to show those who doubt us that we're not just sitting around doing nothing. Yes, that's more like it. Everyone echoed this sentiment. Perseus was pleased, not expecting that they still had a shred of courage left. I'll pick it up today, Katie said. Everyone looked at her. If we pick you up tomorrow, you'll definitely find an excuse to delay for another day and then leave the day after tomorrow. That would be such a waste of time, Katie said casually. Aesop was furious. Miss Angie, how dare you question us? Even Chris, your strongest fighter, hasn't said anything. What gives you the right to talk about us like this? Because I'm better than you, Katie said. Ah, interesting. Mario laughed. I will not lose again. Astrid's gaze was sharp. This time I will wash away this shame. Ken took a deep breath. Are we going to fight again? Or maybe we shouldn't count me in. Alice quickly created distance. While telling his men to keep a safe distance, Perseus instructed Katie, Angie, just take them down, don't kill them. Oh, Katie responded, then drew her sword. Discard it. He only held the scabbard in his hand. Moments later, Mario and his men were beaten to the ground. Why? Aren't you his little sister? Why are you so strong too? Aesop was covered in bruises and couldn't move a single finger. He looked at Katie with a mournful face. Because she was afraid of hurting them, Katie avoided their heads, so their mouths remained intact. But the situation is not so optimistic in other places. I'm not that strong. I'm just stronger than you guys. Having witnessed the power of the white flame, Katie became much more cautious and humble, but her words still nearly made the 4 people on the ground so frustrated they vomited blood. Wah! This is so disrespectful. You beat me up like this again, and in front of the woman I love. How am I supposed to face her now?